this is an instrument called the Orchestron, which came about in the mid-70s. And it was, long story short, it was an attempt to take the idea of the Optigan, the technology behind the Optigan, and make a more professional quality instrument that could compete with the Mellotron. And now you put a, do I have a disc in there? Okay. And the first thing they did was they got rid of the chord buttons because, you know, no self-respecting musician would be playing anything like that. And so it's just keys. It's you know, it's laid out kind of similar to the Mellotron, except you put one disc in at a time and you get one sound. But the thing is that it's easy enough to just, you know, pull the disc out and put a new disc in, change the sound. So here's the last sound that Brian played was that impressive Mellotron choir sound. Well, here's the Orchestron's answer to that sound. Brian kind of cheated by using a little outboard reverb there, but the Orchestron has a built-in spring reverb that you this particular sound, hardly anybody used this instrument. They made very few of them. So, you know, you can hear this on some prog rock records in the 70s and stuff, but it's pretty well hidden. Probably the most famous users of this instrument were Kraftwerk, who that choir sound is kind of all over their sort of mid-70s records. And yes, Mattel made all their own recordings, and I own the entire master tape archive of all of the recordings that were made for the Optigan. That last sound, that last disc that I played with the big band on it actually was the Lawrence Welk Orchestra playing, and it's the master tapes are great to listen to because, you know, in between takes, the guys are like cracking all these Lawrence Welk jokes and stuff like that. They were just totally, you know, it's pretty hilarious. You know, it was just another day on the job for them. And here's another Orchestron sound, the violin, which again got heavily used by Kraftwerk. And I noticed Brian mentioned that, you know, they had like on the Mellotron violin sound or the Chamberlin violin sound, they had like maybe 3 guys playing violin simultaneously. Well, the Orchestron, you know, didn't have quite that budget, so the master tape is just one guy playing a violin electronically double-tracked, so it has this kind of sort of fake sound to it. It's like not quite solo and not quite a duo. It's sort of electronic sounding. Okay, so fast forward real quick. We are now actually making new software for the Optigan. There's a guy back there, Robert Becker. Why don't you come up here, Robert? When I first started getting into the Optigan and kind of researching it, you know, in the mid-90s, one of the first ideas that I had was you know, wouldn't it be great to be able to make new discs for this thing? And, you know, I figured it was just a matter of time before some genius came along and figured out how to do it with computers. I mean, back in the day, it was, you know, required a room full of equipment to make a disc like this. It was a complicated process. But I figured, you know, with computers, you could do it much easier. Well, this guy figured out how to do it. This is Robert Becker. And so for the last couple of years, we've been issuing a brand new line of Optigan discs.
For the masses.
Yes. Here's our latest title, which we just released. Now, on the original Optigan owner's manual, the cover of the manual, I should have brought it, I forgot it, but the cover of the manual lists all of these instruments that you can play with the Optigan, like bongos and xylophones and marimbas and guitars and stuff. And one of the instruments that they list on that on the cover there is sitar. And when I first got my first Optigan, and I saw that manual and I saw the word sitar on there, I thought, oh, I got to find the Optigan sitar disc. You know, it's got to be out there. But as it turns out, they never made a sitar disc for the Optigan, and they never even recorded a sitar because it doesn't appear on the master tapes anywhere. So I was really bummed about that. But now we're making new discs, so guess what? The Optigan sitar disc is here. Because of the way the Optigan works with the continuously looping sounds, sitar isn't really germane to the way the Optigan's set up, but we kind of took this as a challenge to do something creative with it, because not only that, but Indian classical music doesn't make use of chords the way that the Optigan is set up. There is no C, G, F chords, you know. So what we did was we tried to stay true to Indian classical music as much as we possibly could. On the chord buttons, we put a whole series of tabla loops, so percussion loops. On these special effects tabs, which you can lock on for drum loops and things, we put like tambura drones and stuff like that. And then on the keyboard, instead of individual notes, we've got each key has a different sitar riff. And by sort of just playing the keys, you get endless combinations of sitar riffs. So I'll just play a little bit of that for you. Okay, and this one, just real quick, this one sounds really great upside down, so I'll play a little bit of it. Okay, sounds a little bit like Tomorrow Never Knows or something. So,
Thanks, George.
yeah, and I think Robert's going to demonstrate one last of our new discs for you, because he learned the appropriate song to play on the disc and I didn't. So let me find it real quick here. Makes it sound even better. And by better, I mean worse, which is what we love about this instrument, is that it sounds horrible.
Sounds like a scratch in a record, and
Does it get stuck?
no, it doesn't get stuck, but you'll hear a pop every time it comes around.
Part of this, what would happen if you would take an Optigan disc and play it on the Orchestron?
It doesn't matter. Let's try that, actually. It doesn't really map correctly because, well, I won't do it because we're probably running short on time, but it just, it'll play, but the sounds don't map in a real logical way. I mean, you can do it, but sounds just don't map. Okay, this is our disc called Surf Rock. And I'm going to let Robert take over on this one.
I don't play keyboard, so I'm going to just fake it. But Sounds like a mess with the disc. There we go. Sounds a little odd to me. Do you have, by the way, you can see that this one is kind of different. This is actually a negative of the normal disc. When we make discs, we make first a test disc, and then we try it out, and if we like it, then we make another duplicate of disc of the negative, and that becomes our master, and they make contact prints of it at a photo lab for us, which we then dutifully cut them out of these gigantic squares of paper, and then we print our sleeves, and we print our own jackets, and we send them off. You know, mostly internet sales, I'd say, right?
Yeah. These are very expensive to produce, by the way, so they cost a lot. We have a very hardcore following for these, and we do, each disc gets a run of about 25 copies, and that's about what we can sell for. They go for $100 a piece.
What are potential buyers?
Not very many. Yeah, around 25. No, there's, let me get back to the mic real quick.
Because I know they're doing this for the web as well. They're Optigans, relative to say a Mellotron or an Orchestron, Optigans are actually very common. You can still find these in thrift stores and at garage sales. I mean, they do turn up. They made quite a lot of them. So there are a lot of people that own Optigans, but there aren't a lot of people that are interested in paying $100 for an Optigan disc. But it's very costly to produce these. It's a weird retro thing. So anyway, by the way, we do have a merch booth out in the lobby where, you know, if you just want to buy one as a souvenir, even if you don't own an Optigan, you can. All right, I'm just going to show you one last little thing. I brought my Chamberlain Rhythmate, which is not related to the Optigan directly, but you know, I'm going to demo that for you real quick, and then I think we're pretty much wrapping it up. All right, so this instrument was featured in the film. It's Chamberlain's drum machine, and what it has is it has 14 loops of tape on it. Each tape has 3 parallel soundtracks, and there's a little lever for moving the head between each of the 3. So each loop of tape has 3 different drum loops on it, and there's 14 loops of tape. So you do the math. I'm terrible at math. And it sounds like this. And what I'm doing here is that you're actually, this lever that I'm moving across is actually the tape head itself. So you're just physically moving the tape head to align with different tape loops. much that. You know, it was intended to sit beside your organ and just be your drummer. You can also plug, the amp has an input on it, so you can plug your guitar or whatever directly into this and just jam along. So, all right, that's pretty much it.